Hey there, it's Crafty Jennybug. The day has come. The flip through for this journal is upon us. I'm so happy with this journal. I'm so proud of this journal. I can't even express that. I don't know that I can top this one. It's gonna be hard to do. I don't know that I want to try to top this one. Anyway, so in case you are just with me, or in case you're just joining me, this has been a journal I made and decorated throughout the month of March 2023, and it is part of my series where I am making and decorating a journal each month for the year of 2023. This one is very special to me. Anyway, let's just get on with it, shall we? My battery just gave me a low warning. I've got these, I'm still really happy with these little dangles on the side. I think if/when I do this again, I'll make them longer. But this is detachable. Here we go. This is the cover page. Nice peacock feather that came off of a mask and the feather was broken. A little bit of elements here and there. This butterfly die cut that is a pocket. This tag was a pre-made free printable that I found, and I sewed around it, added this cool piece of ribbon for a tag topper. And on the back I wrote, "I've always wanted to use one of these big butterfly die cuts as a pocket. My dream has finally been realized. The mandala behind the butterfly pocket is something else I'm really proud of. Same with the book page flower growing out of the book on the next page. This journal has some really fun things that I'm really proud of." This is probably one of my favorite pages. I'm going to say that a lot. I'm just warning you right now. Oh, this is one of my favorite pages. No, this is also one of my favorite pages. I love this book so much. You can see all the things. Oh, it's so chaotic. I love it. Here I've got some packing paper, part of what I think is an onion bag over here. Free printable for flower seed packs. I added some distress spray, and inside there are old marigold seeds that will not sprout. That most likely will not sprout. They're quite a few years old. Like a decade old. Because I don't know why I still have them. Here we've got a picture I cut out of a magazine, and it says, "A flower blossoms for its own joy," and that's quoted to Oscar Wilde. A little collage. Over here we've got some die cuts. It says, "Grow through what you go through." The flower is growing out of the frame. Here I've got some pockets. I added "My garden is my happy place" on this. It was not something I could journal on the back of. And it is true, my garden is my happy place. A couple of pansies peeking out here at the bottom. "Hello Spring." I wrote, "This is part of a collage masterboard. Thought it would make a fun tag for this project." It does. This is part of the packaging from some daffodils. I just thought it made a neat little tag. This journal page says, "This journal has been a lot of fun to create. I was heavily inspired by my garden and all of the amazing changes this month brings. The weather is warmer, the plants are springing to life, the animals are running rampant, excitedly searching for goodies. Spring has descended upon us, so full of life and joy. The dreaded winter is over, not that it is so bad here, but I still struggle mentally during the winter. I'm so proud of everything I've done in this journal, even if it means I spent more time inside crafting than in the garden. Both my craft room and my garden are my happy places, so no harm done, haha." This is a picture of daffodils in my garden from a couple years ago. and I labeled them as such. Added a little stamping. That was done off camera. Here I've got some butterfly die cuts. It says, "A power of butterfly must be the aptitude to fly, meadow of majesty concedes, and easy sweeps of sky," by Emily Dickinson. This is in this tuck spot. I've got a tuck spot here with a little tag, nothing on it, but I like the way the hummingbird is looking at the bee. Here's a poem called Today by Billy Collins. "If ever there were a spring day so perfect, so uplifted by a warm intermittent breeze, that it made you want to throw open all the windows in the house and unlatch the door to the canary's cage, indeed rip the little door from its jamb, a day when the cool brick paths in the garden bursting with peonies seem so etched in sunlight that you feel like taking a hammer to the glass paperweight on the living room end table, releasing the inhabitants from their snow-covered cottage so they could walk out holding hands and squinting into this larger blue dome of blue and white. Well, today is just that kind of day." I dyed that with some coffee, and it smeared a little bit. I like the fact that it smeared. I think it works. It's a chaotic journal. In here we have a little matchbook I made, well, not little, a matchbook I made during Defemember, which is a daily ephemera inspiration prompt list hosted by Louisa Heinzel and Barbara at 49 Dragonflies during the month of December. They provide different prompts and an animal for each prompt for you to make things, and this matchbook was one of them. I put a quote on here. It says, "The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt," and that is attributed to Sylvia Plath. And I really like the way this turned out. It's just some scrapbook paper. I did some stenciling inside, and in here are various different pages for collage, which I didn't actually use during the making of the journal, which is silly. But there we have it. I could also use it as a notepad if I were feeling so inclined. And it lives in this pocket here. This is actually the first page I made in this journal. Over here, we have this little half page, a tuck spot made out of that collage masterboard. And this little booklet, which was from one of the videos where I made ephemera using prompt jars. It says March on it. Inside it says, this booklet, along with the other featured in this journal, were created due to the prompt jars. The jars were created a couple of months ago in an attempt to keep the Defemember prompt joy alive. I think they've succeeded. On the page prior to this page in the journal, not this booklet, I included a piece of ephemera created during Defemember, the matchbook. It's full of sheets to be used as collage fodder. I considered turning it into a notebook, but have opted to leave it blank. That page was the first I decorated in this journal. The flower photos featured in this journal are photos I took in my garden. Most are from this year, while others are from previous years. And the rest of it is blank. And this is why I brought up flower photos. Over here I've got a little collage. It says, "I must have flowers always, always." And that is attributed to Monet. I feel similarly. Got an iris and a poppy that were blooming in my garden this March. This centerpiece in the journal, or in this signature anyway, I added this butterfly die cut, glued down to the center, and it says, "Perhaps the butterfly is proof that you can go through a great deal of darkness and still become something beautiful." I used paper that I had dyed. I set doilies on and then sprayed distress spray inks, or distress oxide sprays on them to dye the paper. Here I made a tuck spot using more of that collage masterboard. I've got this cool tag inside with some die cut butterflies that I used distress oxide inks on, and some sewing. I like the little snags that I managed to make while I was sewing. Dragonfly, I used a stencil and some distress sprays, and what did I use in the middle? I think I just used the black soot ink. I thought this looked kind of like an envelope, so I added a stamp sticker and I stamped some mail-related terms on it. This page, this is part of a scrapbook paper. On this tag I wrote, this tag came from a piece of scrapbooking paper. I distressed the edges in vintage photo and the back in old paper. The front was too pretty to alter, which it's absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't change that. I had no desire. Some die cuts, a sticker, some stamping, some stenciling. A lot of different things went into this page. This one I really like. This is a page from a calendar, and I thought it just worked so well with the color scheme of this book, and I love dragonflies. So this is a pocket. I do not have anything in there, but I decided to make it a pocket just in case I added something. Some washi tape flowers, a page pull tab so you knew to pull it, and over here I have journaling space. It says this fold out was an attempt at chaos. I don't know that it fits that description, but I do love it. The dragonfly image came from an old calendar. I knew I wanted to include it, but wasn't sure how to at first. Fold out journal space that also doubles as a pocket seemed like a neat way to do that. The washi tape flowers seem a bit out of place, but I stick by my decision to add them. I really love the dragonfly cluster collage at the bottom of this page, though. This journal definitely taught me some things. Maybe I'll decorate journals to sell in the future. Making journals brings me joy. It really does. This started out as an attempt at embossing a stamped butterfly image. Didn't work out so well, so I covered it with a gold sticker. And I added a frame around it and some flowers that I stenciled using oxide ink pads and stencils. Over here I've got this cute little cluster collage, a pull tab made from the fabric from the front of the journal. It was a scrap left over. Some stamped images. I made a little tag that says enjoy the little things because there are a few little things on this page. Some lace ribbon, and I distressed the back with old paper. This is one of my favorite features in this journal. So this was an envelope that I folded the flap over, and one of the prompts from my prompt jars said specimen card, and dog was another prompt. So I made a specimen card with a vintage image of a Dalmatian. While that didn't fit the theme of the journal, I decided I wanted to stick it in here. I mean, if I just had this in a pocket and you saw the Dalmatian, you'd be like, what the heck? Like, that doesn't fit. But sticking it in here makes more sense to me, so you don't see it, but you're like, ooh, what's that? And I have some Tim Holtz Ideology Field Notes Snippets ephemera pack, and I glued some of those down here to make it look like somebody was out in the field taking notes and studying things they found in nature. And then this card also was reminiscent of that. I did some splats with a stencil I made and some vintage photo distressed oxide ink. And here I've got this cute little coin envelope, and inside a piece of cardstock that was coffee dyed and a pressed fern leaf, and it says life. And I really like that. I thought all of those things fit in really well together. Maybe I'll make a journal just specifically things like this. I don't know, I really enjoyed this theme. So, like a scientist's journal. I wrote I stamped field notes on that label. Over here is the back of the flap. I made a pocket because I just glued it here along the edge of the page, and later here. Got this little tag with some hemp rope. Back was distressed in frayed burlap, I believe. and I spritzed some water so that you'd get the distress effect. Another tag here inside of a pocket created by a dehydrated vegetable packet from some soup. This tag and this tag were both pre-made ephemera that I printed out and distressed around. Added lace ribbon to the top for a pull and stenciled a leaf on the back. I used peeled paint Distress Oxide ink, and then for the leaf I used Rustic Wilderness. This is the tag someone gave me. One of my lovely neighbors brought me a forest bulb hyacinth about a month ago, and I took the label off of it and decided it would be really cool in my junk journal, and it's a little pocket tuck spot. It's a tuck spot. I made this little tag. It says collect beautiful moments. I used some Distress Dauber to make a splat you really can't see very well. Some piece of scrap paper with some copper paint on it and a brown brad. And I glued down some pressed fern and some dried hydrangea pieces. Over here I've got a collage, various vintage images that I printed out, some doily that was coffee dyed, some packing paper with gold paint on it, a couple of die cuts, some washi tape, some lace that was left over from the front cover, just a little cut off, glued down, and it says Plant Lady. That's me. This page I'm really happy with. This fabric came from, I guess, a napkin or like part of a centerpiece for a table setting. And I found it at a thrift store. Decided it would make a wonderful corner tuck spot. Added a die cut butterfly and I coffee dyed it and used some distress spray on it. Distress ink on the edging. Die cut butterfly with some rhinestones. This tag was made during Defemember. One of the days we made some kind of grunge collage thing. I think that the prompt was grunge. And snippet roll, maybe? It had to have been a snippet roll. That sounds right. A grunge snippet roll. So I took all of these different papers and things, and then threw dye and distress ink at them. And then there's cheesecloth, like there's ribbon and fabric and all kinds of things. There's a little piece of doily here that is actually a pocket for a couple of little tickets. And then I took a die cut, looks like a Queen Anne's lace flower, and glued it down. I backed the snippet roll on some dark brown like cardstock and called it a tag. And I love it. Absolutely love it. I think it works well in this pocket. This was part of the prompt jar video that I made at the beginning of this month. It was a loaded pocket using music paper with a snail as a focal point. And this snail I absolutely love. I was so pleased. I just took a scrap of scrapbooking paper and a snail shell from a printable that was offered by Barbara during Defemember. And these little pearl, it's used for butterflies, to make the antenna of a butterfly. But it just looked so good as the antenna on the eye stalks on the snail. Inside the loaded pocket, there's so many things. This top pocket has a bee tag. This has a leaf die cut backed with some scrapbooking paper, and it says Joy. This was also one of the first things I made for the journal. In this pocket, we've got a little tag with a butterfly die cut and an eyelet, piece of something I cut out of scrapbooking paper, and then a faux postage stamp with a fairy on it. And again, something I cut out of scrapbooking paper, a little card. And they worked so well. This is one of my favorites. This truly embodies like junk journal ephemera to me. Left that page blank because it had some really cool imagery on it. On this page, I made a little cluster tuck spot thing with some packing paper, and I sewed this little piece of canvas ribbon and made a magazine flower. In this spot, I have the other little booklet that I referenced in the booklet back here, prompt, the result of a prompt. And I've got a die cut flower on the front with some washi tape. In here it says, I stamped "Be happy." I said I am very happy with this journal. The little cluster tuck spot this booklet is tucked under is one of my fave creations. I made it while on the phone with my brother and was just trying to keep my hands busy. That's all I wrote in there. I was kind of getting to the point where I wasn't sure what to write about anymore because it was just gushing about how much I love this journal. Over here I've got a die cut that I backed with some scrapbooking paper and glued down. Over here I've got a pocket made with scrapbooking paper on a page that I'm not really happy with the background of, but I thought these two greens went well together, so I decided to include this here. This is also part of scrapbooking paper that I thought was too beautiful to alter. And I guess I could have sewn around it, but I like it too much as it is. Another result of a prompt, a little notepad using yarn and scrap paper and a sentiment for a focal point. Another Emily Dickinson quote, "March is a month of expectation." Just some little pages. It says, "This little notepad is the result of the prompt jars. One more prompt jar result I'm really happy with. The prompts were notepad, yarn, and sentiment." Some different papers in there. That's the end of the first signature. The second signature starts with this page. Another little cluster I made while on the phone with my brother. I added the sentiment that says dragonfly. I really like this one too. A tag out of scrapbook paper and a thing I cut out of scrapbook paper, some ribbon and some lace at the top for a tag topper, and very simple. Opted not to write on it. This came from a piece of scrapbook paper that looks like a bunch of different stamps, and I just thought it fit pretty well in this little pocket. Another magazine flower on a piece of scrapbook paper made into a pocket. Some of that crazy, I almost want to call it ribbon, but it's not quite. But an envelope I made also as a result of one of the prompt jar. An envelope I made as a result of one of the prompt jars prompts. Some stamping on the front. Inside is an invitation that was also the result of a prompt. An invitation to a garden party. Made with some scrapbooking paper, glued to junk mail, some tea-dyed paper. You're invited to a garden party when March 15th. Wear my garden, wear comfy shoes, and be prepared to smell all the lovely flowers. Love, Jen. It's right in here. This page, I had a piece of a coffee filter stuck through, or sewn into the signature, that had been dyed with coffee. I glued down this pressed fern that I dried in a book, same with this pansy, and I added spring. I glued it down to this following paper, added some stenciling, And then when you flip the page, I folded over some of the page and made a tuck spot. Added this piece of, it was a flower printable, and a little piece of snippet butterfly from that Field Notes pack. Piece of scrapbook paper turned into a tag. Got one of those gold butterfly stickers, some lace on the side for a pull tab. Very pretty. Over here, another snippet pocket thing I made while on the phone, just sewing things together. Added a little charm. This stamped flower image to the side. In the pocket, in the big pocket, there's this tag I made with some various things that are from the snippet pack. The Field Notes snippet pack. This came from scrapbooking paper that's fairy themed, and this is from a punch out ephemera pack with some scrapbooking paper. I used mustard seed distress oxide ink and splattered it a little bit with some water. And then here is another one of those little postage stamps from the scrapbook paper. It says Life's Journey. And it just tucks right in here. This is a part of a scrapbook paper that I thought would make a wonderful tuck spot. Made a tag from some scrapbooking paper that looked really cool. Added this sticker, which is pressed flower, and part of a vintage seed catalog image. Distress the back. Lovely. This page has a few different things going on. I kind of did a very random collage piece, made this a pocket. In the pocket I've got this blue tag that was part of a free printable, and on the back I wrote wishes because it says wishes here, so I took that to mean that I was to tuck my wishes here. Wishes to continue with this junk journal mission of making a journal each month and actually seeing it through to completion. I added a blue tag here to tie into the blue over here, otherwise this would have been very yellow and green and white. Up here I have a paper clip I made as part of one of the prompts. It's the only like St. Patrick's Day themed anything in this journal. Over here, this I made during December. It is a faux postcard, and this little bunny is hiding in this tuck spot here. And I thought it was a great addition to this journal, but I wasn't sure how to add it until I remembered I made the decorated paper clip. Has a little bit of fabric at the top and some fun embroidery floss that is very metallic. Over here I've got a tuck spot and a tag, a vintage image of flowers on it, on some faux leather material, a little bit of dyed fabric at the top for a tag topper. A tag that is a tuck spot for another tag. Both of these are part of a free printable that I found on Pinterest. Another tag made from, I think it's the same person who made all of these. Added a little gold ribbon to the top, sewed around it, distressed the back. Made a tuck spot with a scrap I had hanging out and added a little stamp image. This side I used a flower seed packet to make a tuck spot, in which I have a picture of a hyacinth from my garden a couple years ago. Here I've got a die cut that I glued down and added the Chinese proverb, "He who plants a garden plants happiness." This is a poem called March by William Cullen Bryant, and it goes, "The stormy March is come at last, with wind and cloud and changing skies. I hear the rushing of the blast that through the snowy valley flies. Ah, passing few are they who speak, wild stormy month, in praise of thee. Yet though thy winds are loud and bleak, thou art a welcome month to me. For thou to northern lands again the glad and glorious sun dost bring, and thou hast joined the gentle train, and wear'st the gentle name of spring. And in thy reign of blast and storm smiles many a long bright sunny day, when the changed winds are soft and warm, and heaven puts on the blue of May. Then sing aloud the gushing rills, and the full springs from frost set free, that brightly leaping down the hills are just set out to meet the sea. The year's departing beauty hides of wintry storms the sullen threat, but in thy sternest frown abides a look of kindly promise yet. Thou bring'st the hope of those calm skies, and that soft time of sunny showers, when the wide bloom on earth that lies seem of a brighter world than ours." And I added a few things, sticker, die cuts, just to accent the page. Again, I used some of that master board, and I made a tuck spot, or a belly band, excuse me. Added some of that, more of that frilly green lace, chaotic, very chaotic lace, and some nicer lace up here. Magazine flower, some die cuts, and this tag, which was part of a printable. Added some copper splatter, some sewing, and this crazy bead, which is, it just reminded me of honeycomb. Some fun eyelash yarn that also had this brown material woven in. I did not distress the back. Over here, I glued down part of a page to make a pocket. In the pocket, I have these two tags. This one was part of a free printable. This one was part of scrapbooking paper. I stenciled what looks like wood grain on the back of this one, and just left that one with some mild distress on it. Stenciled this image on the background, and down here I made a tuck spot for a little ticket. I tried my hand at faux wax seals using hot glue, and I used clear hot glue, and then I painted it. I added this die cut leaf that I dyed with distress inks. Here I have a journal page. It says, "I'm really happy with how much of my Defemember ephemera I've managed to work into my journals so far. My hope is to integrate all of them into these monthly journals without them feeling forced. So far, so good. My goal of making this journal feel chaotic seems achieved, at least to me. I'm sure there were ways I could have made it more chaotic, but this works for me, and I'm proud." Over here, I sprayed distress inks through a butterfly stencil, and then used the tube that's in the bottle as like a pen to draw the design on it. Another partial crazy half dictionary page with some leaves and some packing paper all over it that hides this elk. Little tuck spot made of an elk image from a calendar. And I tucked this little vintage looking telegram I cut out of scrapbooking paper. I stenciled some leaves so it looks like he's hiding in the forest. Over here, this came from a piece of scrapbooking paper that had a bunch of different things to cut out. Tucked behind it is a little March 2023 calendar page. I added the sticker, some alcohol ink, and some washi tape. I've got a chipboard piece with some haphazardly glued down strings, like embroidery floss, a little bit of dyed paper, and some stamping. This is another one of my absolute favorites. I made a hole in a couple of pages and made it look like the plants were growing out of it. I sewed around the edging to kind of connect them together, glued it down, glued the fern coming out of it, and it's just so wild, and I love it. Another journal, or another poem, this one called The Enkindled Spring by D.H. Lawrence. This spring as it comes bursts up in bonfires green, wild puffing of emerald trees and flame-filled bushes, thorn blossom lifting in wreaths of smoke between, where the wood fumes up and the watery flickering rushes. I'm amazed at this spring, this conflagration of green fires lit on the soil of the earth, this blaze of growing and sparks that puff in wild gyration, faces of people streaming across my gaze, and I, what fountain of fire am I among this leaping combustion of spring? My spirit is tossed about like a shadow buffeted in the throng of flames, a shadow that's gone astray and is lost. I added a few stamped flowers and a little butterfly die cut. Over here I've got a few circle images that are also tuck spots. This felt very fancy, so I sewed around it very haphazardly. This is also a belly band. I can tuck something here should I want to. I did not write on it, but I love it. Love it. Another one of those faux postage stamps. Over here, part of that daffodil packaging that I showed you at the beginning, I decided to make it a pocket. I sewed on this side of it some of this like burlap lace. Stenciled wood grain here, and I added this tag. I stamped on some cardstock and added this vintage image. It said the pocket on this page is made from packaging from a daffodil pack of bulbs I received last year. Here, the other part of the coffee filter, I dyed it with some distress inks and put through a stencil. And then I did some more stenciling behind, glued it down, and stenciled on top. And I centered the pocket on this page so that this would be centered here. This, I cleaned off some stencils using a baby wipe onto this piece of scrap card and thought it looked so cool I had to add it to my journal. And I glued it down and then added some washi tape on the corners. It could be journaling space. And then the last page I left blank. And there we have it. My March 2023 journal. I hope you've enjoyed this video and the prior videos showing how I made the journal and how I've decorated it all month long. Up next is April, and I'm excited to start on that. Oh, this has come out. I'm excited to start on the April journal because I having a lot of fun. Oh no, I have to glue it down. Okay. This is a lot of fun. It's daunting. I'm kind of surprised that I've stuck with it for this long because it is so daunting. But I'm you know, a quarter of the way through the year. And I still have so many ideas coming to me for each month. April is going to be different, I think. This one was very chaotic, and I think April's going to be a lot more orderly and a lot less vibrant. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.